Hello, I'm Elaine Sanchez, founder of CaregiverHelp, and with me today is Brenna Baucum, a certified financial planning professional, and this is our continuing series of Life After Caregiving Going Solo. And we have talked about how to avoid chaos immediately after death, about the 90 days, the things that you need to do in the first 90 days. We've started to talk about um, financial planning and making decisions. And so, Brenna, welcome back. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And what we're going to be talking about today in Life After Caregiving, going solo, is rebuilding a financial plan as a solo household. So how things change. And I think that once the dust kind of settles, and you're through the initial 3 to 4 months, my experience is that at about 6 months, people tend to hit a brick wall.
Mm,
That they kind of, that's when they realize they are really gone. They're not coming back. The initial busyness that comes after a person dies, all of those things, getting the death certificates, doing the funeral, sending the thank you cards, notifying all of the people that need to be notified. That is a very busy and it can be an overwhelming time. At the same time, as we talked about in another episode, you have this sense of accomplishment that you're getting this done, and you can check off these boxes, right? And then you come to the point that it's like, okay, they are really gone.
yeah.
I am on my own. Am I going to be okay? Am I going to be okay financially? What does this future look like for me?
Yeah.
So at this point, then I turn to Brenna and I say, Brenna,
What now?
how can people plan so that they know they will be okay?
Yeah.
What has
I
to happen now?
I think I am a big believer in a having an actual plan, an actual
Mhm,
financial plan.
mhm, mhm,
And what that looks like is we take what you have today,
mhm,
what you we anticipate you spending, and we
mhm,
say, does it work? Is
mhm,
there enough money to accomplish the things we want to
mhm,
accomplish
mhm,
and the things that we aren't necessarily goals for anyone, but having money for long-term care expenses or downsizing on a home or whatever those transitions might be.
mhm,
So the financial plan is a nice objective thing that we can continue to come back to over time.
mhm,
So as we
mhm,
start to build this for a now individual,
mhm,
the typically this is okay, we've got some money here, but it has to last for this whole life. And there's
mhm.
not, in many cases, in a partnership, the first person to pass their long-term care costs and expenses is lower
Right.
because they had a caregiver, a live-in caregiver
Exactly.
or a family
Exactly.
caregiver. And so when then we have to think through, okay, what do we want to project out and kind of imagine for expenses for long-term care for the survivor of this?
Mhm,
Mm. And how do we make sure it's enough?
mhm,
Whether that's in-home care, assisted living, compensating really skilled people to come into our home and help, versus putting it all or making an assumption, as you said
mhm.
in the last one of the last episodes around my daughter is going to do it or my
Yeah, right.
cousin or whoever
Yeah,
it is,
yeah.
which is fraught in many ways,
Oh
to
boy,
make that
yeah.
assumption. So the financial plan helps inform us what is sustainable spending now, which
Mhm,
can be not only how do we make sure we're okay from that
mhm,
long-term need perspective, but also freedom to spend now in this
mhm,
new
mhm,
chapter of life,
mhm,
where you can still go and do the bucket list things that you've wanted to do
mhm.
that maybe you haven't been able to do for a few years because you were caregiving.
Yeah.
Or any of the things that we want to do. I see a lot of people restrict in with finances during this time because they're afraid they're gonna
Mhm,
outlive their assets.
mhm.
But the plan can help us say, well, look, actually, we
Yeah,
earmarked
yeah.
this for the long term, and you're still okay. go on that trip. In fact, go first class on that trip, or whatever kind of way we can
Right.
encourage joy in this as we make our way
I
through
love that.
the
Yeah.
new normal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it informs that. It also informs the investments. And what do we need? Are there changes we need to make to the investments? And I know we'll talk more about that in another session, but are there changes we need to make generally to support your lifestyle now and to make sure that there's enough later?
So we have worked with you on different plans, and one was like an income generator,
Hmm.
right? So that you
Hmm.
make certain investments to generate income,
Yeah.
and another one was for growth.
Hmm.
And so that's the type of thing that you're looking at, that you're saying, okay, what do you want? Do you want the income? So that you can go on that 30-day cruise and, just spend the money?
Hmm.
Or do you want to grow it so you can leave it to the children or to your favorite charities or whatever? What is your goal, right?
That is a big piece of it. And sometimes we can think about growth and income like, how are we going to pay for a gallon of milk? Right?
Mm.
We need some income to pay for a gallon of milk
Mhm.
or whatever. But
Mhm.
we also need growth in the account because care that we might need long term
Right.
inflates a whole lot faster than a gallon of milk, right? So you have
It
to have
certainly does.
the balance of those two things
Right.
is a big piece and very much driven by the goals. So oftentimes, I know, of course, we've done this, but oftentimes when we're working together, we're saying, what do we really want to dream big about?
Hmm. Hmm.
And again, I don't think this time and putting this plan together has to feel like a slog or a negative thing. At
Hmm.
its best, a financial plan empowers you to do
Hmm.
the next right thing with your money
Hmm.
because that money is just a tool to support the things we care about. So
Yes.
getting clear on what we care about and what we want to accomplish in this new life that we're in, this new stage of life is
I
important.
wish everybody could look at money as being a tool.
Yeah.
Those of us who can, it's an incredible gift. And
Yeah.
it does take planning, and it does take some restraint, and it takes some luck, you know, uh,
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
yeah.
One thing that you just made me think of was that I say that sort of somewhat flippantly. Money's just a tool, as if that's an easy thing. And I
Hmm.
want to acknowledge that it's not for everyone, that a scarcity mindset, the way
Right.
that you were raised, how you managed money growing up, all has such an impact on how we show up with money
It
today.
does.
So I think that's an important thing to think through. If you're like, money's not a tool, money is everything, it's so important to me, that's a valid feeling and
Uh-huh.
worth some analysis and some, let's look at this from other angles too.
Hmm.
Is that belief serving you
Hmm.
in your long-term
Right,
life?
right.
Or
Is
is
it
it
making
something
you
you should-
miserly, or is it
Yes.
making you generous, or, is it making you reckless? All of those things. Every person has an attitude toward money, and those attitudes have been formed through a lot of years by the time we
Yes.
get to this place.
Yeah, I say that you have a relationship with money, whether you want to admit it or not. It's true. Very true.
That is true. So let's talk about some common mistakes that people make and how possibly we could avoid them.
Yeah, I think we've touched on this, but sometimes I see um, people move forward with big decisions without a plan in place.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
big spending,
Hmm.
um, or big investment changes without really a clear why behind it. And anytime we're talking about money or investments, as much as we can remove the emotional aspect of it
Yes.
and have something, again, that's kind of what a plan does, is makes
Yeah.
it's this neutral thing. We have our own feelings and ideas, and we hear this headline or that news
Yeah.
article, and it makes us anxious.
Oh, yeah.
Coming back to something like a plan to say, okay, is that something I actually need to worry about?
Hmm.
Is there action I need to take here?
Hmm.
And again, having the plan is one thing. Having somebody to talk to about those feelings together, those are the two things that are really, really powerful. Is be able to walk through that.
Yeah. And you have been very helpful to us on that, because it's easy to freak out. I mean, if you've ever
Yeah.
been really, really short on money, the idea of loss can be terrifying.
Yes.
And, to think that, we could lose all of this, we could lose our security. So I think it's really helpful for people to have um, someone who's a professional in this to kind of guide them through those sweaty palm moments
Yep.
when you wonder, if the government's plan is going to destroy the economy, or is it going to build it, or are we just going to go like this and,
Mhm.
and learn to take a deep breath and, you know, let your financial planner pay attention to all of the signals and, I go out for a walk. You know,
Yeah, exactly. And
there's kind of that balance, isn't there?
there is, and I think there used to be, I'll say this now because we've had this relationship for so long and
Yes,
we're talking as if everyone has an advisor, and I am
right,
acutely aware that everyone does not. And so
right.
I would like to do a little myth busting on what you need to have in order to
Yes.
have an advisor.
Oh, good.
It,
Please
it,
do.
it used to feel like you had to have millions of dollars in order to need help, have be able to afford help in the way in which it was charged from advisory firms. And this industry has changed just so much over the past 20, 30 years
Hmm.
that now there are advisors who offer hourly work, advisors who offer subscription model, kind of like you pay for your Netflix. You can pay once a month a fee and have this advisor on retainer, regardless of if you have $10,000 or $100 million, right?
And what would they do on a fee-based
So it's similar to
agreement?
what we do together,
Yeah.
where we have this ongoing dialogue about new needs that come up,
Hmm.
helping to manage the portfolio, helping to rebalance some things. Do we need to turn this into an income stream versus a growth stream? What's going on with your insurance policies? Do we need to revisit coverage? All of those things. So yeah, hourly subscription, there's kind of comprehensive planning and investment management. So just encourage people to not throw it out entirely as an idea. Even if you don't have millions, you still can really benefit from and have accessible financial planning services. So
That's
there's lots of choice.
interesting. Can you do that maybe through your bank or credit union?
So you
Or,
oftentimes there are financial advisors
mhm,
involved in most financial institutions.
mhm.
And their ability to be fiduciaries for you. We talked about this in another, what a
Yes,
fiduciary is
yes,
means
yes,
working in your best interest. Sometimes credit unions sell product, insurance policies, annuities,
yes.
those kind of things. So there may be a little fogginess to their recommendations. It might
Mhm.
say, oh, I think you should really have XYZ product. By the way, I get a commission from that.
Yes,
So the way one of the fee models to consider is a fee only fiduciary, and that's an
yes.
advisor who gets paid just on the fees that their clients pay them. They don't get paid commission, and that helps to reduce that conflict of interest. So yeah, typically there are through the banks and credit unions, and also they have an interest to keep assets in house and
And to
sell
get
their
the
products.
commission. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. And we have experienced that. And we would not do that again, you know. So that's a discussion for another time, but
Yes.
maybe in our next one. So what do we need to do to wrap this session up? Have we talked about everything that we wanted to talk about here?
I think there's
Um,
one more framework that I'll offer in case
okay, yes,
it's
please do.
interesting to people. So sometimes when we are doing planning work together,
Mhm.
we come up with quite a list of things to do,
Mhm.
of things to change and how do we do them.
Yes.
And we just talked about logistics too earlier of there's just so much. So if you're ever finding yourself in that brain fog of all of the things to do, really valuable framework that I've seen is the now, soon, later list. And so,
Oh, yes, that's right.
so brain dump, I usually encourage people set a timer for 5 minutes
Uh-huh.
and write down everything that's on your mind of the things that you need to do.
Mhm.
And this can be financial and non-financial, but just here's all the stuff that needs to be
Mhm.
done.
Mhm.
Get it out. The timer goes off, you stop. And then we sort those tasks into the now, soon, later files,
Mhm.
kind of
Mhm.
categories. And from there, we not only get clarity on what needs to be done first, but also it gives us an opportunity to evaluate, is there any of this I can outsource
Yes.
to professionals I'm already paying, to children who are asking how they can help,
Mm-hmm.
to friends who are saying, hey, how are you? Is there anything
Mm-hmm.
you need?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that that framework has been a huge help to people who are in that mode of just, it's all up here,
Now,
spinning
soon,
around.
later. I
Now,
love
soon, later.
that.
Yeah, it's a good
That's
one.
great. That's great. That's a great place to stop. And it kind of makes me want to grab my pen and sit down and make my notes.
Yep, there you go.
But soon I will do that.
There you go.
Okay, Brenna, thank you so much for once again joining us. Brenna Baucum is a certified financial planner, and she's really helping educate all of us on life after caregiving and going solo, the things that we need to think about when we find our life is changing or has changed, and we are making these decisions about our own finances and our own end of life care and how we live between now and then.
Absolutely.
So these are our big decisions, and I'm so glad that you're here to help.
My
So
pleasure.
thank you, Brenna, and we will see you soon.
All right. Thank you.